Good morning, look. It's been said that you can't please all of the people all of the time, and so it is with the programme for government. Creating the programme for government is complex. If the government includes a substantial number of commitments and objectives, it's said that it's been too ambitious, overly confident and unrealistic, and if the government doesn't include a substantial number of commitments and objectives, it is accused of lacking imagination and creativity. It's important to recall just how desperate a situation our country was in when we came to government. Ireland had, through a lethal combination of economic mismanagement and a dire external economic climate, relinquished its economic sovereignty and accepted a financial bailout. The economy collapsed very quickly with soaring unemployment, failing businesses, dwindling financial resources and an ever-increasing gap between income and spending. Not surprisingly, there was a feeling of hopelessness and fear and that all too pervasive negativity. 3 years later, there is a new sense of hope and optimism afoot of the positive results we are seeing in terms of employment and economic growth. It should never be forgotten that economic recovery is due to hard work, determination and perseverance of the Irish people. Is cearta bháim go am go bhfuil seans agan sa dál breathnú siar scéal an rialtas. Is táfad maithé. Tarring an rialtas, tháinig an rialtas seo is teach 3 bliana chuin leis an troike in our másc agus inis tar éis obair an rialtas agus bhaint an na hÉireann tá sé dimia. Is scéal maithé sin agus tá sé sular bhfuil muid ar an bóthar ceart ó thaobh acnamíocht an tír. There has been much progress across a significant number of areas in the programme for government for national recovery, if you use the full title. On the economic front, a policy of careful, sustainable building and recasting of the economy has yielded many results. We've regained our economic sovereignty. We're the first country to have successfully exited an economic assistance programme in what was the worst recession in 80 years. We've re-entered the bond markets at historically low levels. We've liquidated the former Anglo-Irish Bank and effectively halved the amount to be repaid following the renegotiation of the promissory notes. In terms of employment, only 3 years ago, the unemployment rate in the West was a staggering 17%. Today it has fallen to 11.9%, a huge improvement. An improvement verified by the increased participation rate in the labour market, which shows that it is not simply down to immigration. Having said that, there is a lot more to do and we cannot be complacent. We need to certainly ensure that we continue that growth. 61,000 new jobs has been created in the past 12 months, and Ireland now is the fastest growing employment rate in the European Union and the OECD. With the fall in the live register over the last 20 consecutive months. There are undeniable facts which of course irritate those who are hoping against hope that our country fails. Is scéal má freisin ó thaobh postanna agus justaíocht. Tá an ráta justaíocht tuite ó 2.2 faoin gcéad go dtí 1.9 faoin gcéad. Tá an ráta nua ró ort fós ach tá feabhas mór déanta agan sa tír ó thaobh justaíocht. Tá sé ráite go bhfuil an ráta justaíocht tuite mar gheall ar imirce. Tá daoine óg gimar tar lear ach tá chuide acu teach a rás freisin. Tá the figuris níos fearr do daoine atá ag obair sa tír. Tá the figuris sin ag ardú. This very welcome growth in employment can be attributed to a number of factors, not least of all the relentless focus of all areas of government and of the state on job creation. To my mind, the Jobs Action Plan has been revolutionary in its ethos. The Action Plan for Jobs, however, is different. By bringing together all the stakeholders in a process characterised by a comprehensive consultation, the Jobs Action Plan has succinctly set out what measures and acts are needed to create the best environment possible for job creation. The most important aspect of the plan is how it clearly identifies the department, agency or organisation responsible for achieving the stated objective. While with everyone clear on the aims and objectives for which they are responsible, with everyone focused on the overarching aim of creating jobs, the results can only be positive. The undeniable truth is that the Jobs Action Plan is working. The figures and statistics demonstrate this. We need to continue, however, that focus and intensify our efforts. Whilst there have been many positives in many areas, there have also been frustrating delays in others. The introduction of the free primary health care for all citizens is an honourable objective which will be of great benefit. While I very much welcome the introduction of free GP care for all children under 6 in the country, I am disappointed that the objective of introducing free GP care for citizens on the long-term illness scheme has been delayed. I think those with existing health conditions and chronic illnesses would benefit more from having free access to primary care free of charge. I am also concerned at the apparent impasse within the Irish Medical Organisation representing GPs and the HSE. It is vital that a new agreement is negotiated, is reasonable and is done so in a respectful manner. We should never lose sight of the fact that all sides have the same objective, which is to meet the healthcare needs of the Irish people. Another area which has been frustratingly slow is the introduction of high-speed broadband outside of our cities and large towns. As I said previously, high-speed broadband has made geographic location less relevant for many businesses and enables businesses in areas like Connemara to compete on a level playing field with those in central Dublin. Some 15 years after the shambles that was the privatisation of ERCOM, we are still experiencing the effects of selling off the entire network, as well as the commercial entity. Because of this short-sightedness and misguided step, our country is still playing catch-up in terms of broadband provision. The National Broadband Scheme at the middle of the last decade, whilst welcome, proved to be inadequate in many areas, whilst simultaneously and inexplicably omitting areas that should have been included. We now have the National Broadband Plan, which should bring areas speeds of at least 30 megabytes per second to all areas by 2016. The mapping project to identify the areas most in need is nearing completion, and the negotiations within the European Commission regarding state aid that will be required have commenced. However, the progress is frustratingly slow, and it's all the more worrying given how important it is for businesses. I've said before in the House, broadband is as vital as electricity and water can be in that context. I do welcome, however, the recent bill, the ESB Networks Bill, which I think is an innovative approach to use to change the remit of the ESB to allow them to be engaged in broadband provision, to allow a suitable partner company to piggyback onto the ESB infrastructure and to provide high-speed broadband directly into people's homes. And that is something that I hope can be progressed by the ESB as soon as possible, as soon as practicable, to ensure that we get the high-speed broadband directly into people's homes. And I welcome and look forward to the renewed emphasis on this area within the Jobs Action Plan. A further issue that I've raised on which there has been scant progress is the microgeneration of electricity by homes, farms, schools and small local businesses. Outside of very urban settings, it is possible for homes, schools and businesses to reduce their energy bills and to play their part in reducing the effects of climate change by installing domestic-sized wind turbines. However, apart from one electricity provider providing a single scheme for householders only, there is no mechanism which recompenses or indeed reduces energy bills in a way that reflects the unused electricity generated by the turbines being fed back to the national grid. And I've raised this with the Communications and Energy Minister, with the Electricity Network, with the Energy Regulator, with the energy companies, but no one seems interested in tackling the issue. Almost all can appreciate the precariousness of energy supply. Almost all feel the effects of energy costs, and almost all see the need to adopt more renewable sources of energy. Our legislation and our regulatory framework must keep pace, and I would urge the Minister, his department and the relevant organisations and agencies to work together in a practical way to reward those who take initiatives and switch to renewable energy sources. Two other areas I'd like to cover before I conclude. One is in the direction of agriculture. I'd like to acknowledge that the farming and agriculture sector has seen a very positive growth over the last number of years. We've seen sustainable jobs being created in companies like Glanbia and Kerrygold, over 900 jobs are being created, and work going on in terms of the provision of their facilities. Very welcome. I'd like to commend the Minister on a strong negotiations in relation to the CAP programme, a strong pillar one to ensure that we maintain farmers who are producing food to benefit the factories, to benefit our food processors, and to benefit exports and provide real jobs. A strong pillar two, which provides for the disadvantaged area scheme, for the new GLOS scheme, for the suckler cow scheme, across the country, but predominantly in the most marginal lands in the west of Ireland. I think that is hugely important. There are challenges, one of the challenges being, of course, beef prices, the collapse of beef prices this year, the near monopoly effect that I think that lies within the factory sector, factory processing sector in this country, and also challenges regarding the ongoing penalties for land declaration, which is of a lot of concern in the west of Ireland. That is a challenge ahead. Finally, I'd like just to touch on transport and tourism, and again I'd like to commend the fact that we've seen over this year late last year and this year, the signing of the first public-private partnership for a new road project at Newlands Cross. And this is again a sign of the economic advancement of the country, the fact that there are outside investors now willing to invest in this country, that see that it is not as risky an investment as it once was, and that is a positive. And that can be rolled out now to progress to the Gorta-Tune Road in my own county, where land has been purchased over a number of years. And I'd like to see continued progress in the Galway City Outer Bypass, which I've raised here on numerous occasions, which is now back to the initial planning stages. It's been long delayed because of appeals by certain organisations locally. Local people have the right to object, but there has been a lot of objections from others. And I'd like to acknowledge the firm support of the government and of Minister Varadkar on this vital project, which has been deemed to be the #1 in the country in terms of cost-benefit analysis. And I'd like to conclude with that. Margaret.